Hi, everybody. I'm Traven Rice, arts and culture editor and co-founder of The Lowdown, and this is the Lowdown Culture Cast. And we're at P&T Knitwear on Orchard Street, talking to all different types of culture changers. Downtown, specific to Lower East Side, but downtown. I'm really excited today to be speaking with Coss Marte. Hi, Coss.
Hey, how's it going?
Really good. Honestly, I have to say that the definition of culture change, can mean a lot of different things. But I think that you single-handedly have really been a culture changer in different areas in different ways, more than almost anybody I've met.
Really? I don't know about that.
I think so. So I'm gonna just give a little bit of your background. In 2009, Coss Marte was sent to jail as the leader of a multi-million-dollar cocaine operation. He was also grossly overweight and warned by his physician that his current lifestyle, if left unchecked, would likely kill him. Faced with this grim prognosis, Coss started to get in shape using the tools he had, his prison cell and his own body weight. Within 6 months, he lost 70 pounds and replicated his successful formula of body weight exercises with 20 other people incarcerated alongside him. After he was released from prison, Coss launched CONBODY, a prison-style boot camp that hires formerly incarcerated individuals to teach fitness classes. Since the launch of his company, he's gained over 25,000 plus clients, supported many folks coming home from prison, and has been featured in over 200 major media outlets such as NBC, CNN, New York Times, TED Talks, Men's Fitness, and so much more.
I guess.
You guess. Then that's just the first half, by the way. That was the beginning. Yeah. And then from there, I believe that led you to your latest endeavor, which is CONBUD. Mm-hmm. The mission of CONBUD, which just opened in the same location down on Orchard Street, is a very specific, intentional mission to normalize, educate, destigmatize. I would say a lot of around criminal justice. Mm-hmm. And I love what it says on the website. It says, born from a unique moment in history when New York pledged opportunity as reparations to the survivors of cannabis prohibition and the failed war on drugs. And so there's another bit about what you guys are doing, saying that we believe in second chances and we're dedicated to easing integration back into society. Those are really big things. And as far as I can tell, you've made a huge impact in these areas.
Yeah, no, thank you. But I think, there's a lot there that you just said. There's a lot that I've done in since we met 10 years ago, but it's feasible, and I think what I've shown is that it is feasible. There are things that are really happening, that are really working, and
mm-hmm. Yes, we did meet 10 years ago. So we were just saying a lot has happened. We met 10 years ago when the Lowdown was doing a feature called My LES. And so that was 2015. So you were saying that was 2 years after you had gotten out.
Yep.
And you had we were just really getting going with CONBODY.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, CONBODY just first opened in the basement of the Buddhist temple because we couldn't find a location. We were operating out of a back of the daycare that was on the second floor on Forsyth and Delancey, that second floor run by Russians. who kicked us basically out because they found out we were formerly incarcerated people.
Really?
Renting a room, and they didn't feel comfortable.
And then you moved into the Buddhist temple?
Yeah, I saw a Craigslist ad for $2,500. That built, and I turned it into.
Which one on Allen?
It's on Broome. I was on Broome.
Okay.
It was on Broome and Eldridge.
Okay.
Between Eldridge and Forsyth, there's a little temple right there, which used to be JJ, happy ending Chinese spot. And I remember when they walked out 20 prostitutes out of there, when I was on the streets. But yeah, no, it's a crazy time. We used that as a stepping stone to sign the lease there. We had issues there because of a tenant upstairs, and everywhere we go, there's issues because of our background and the judgments and all this stuff. But, you know, I feel like the majority of people, you know, are championing you know, like saying like, if you're doing the right thing, you know, like you're not the same person when you were 16, you know, like when is that scarlet letter over? When can we like burn it? You know?
Do you feel that it sounds like you're saying that more people have been supportive than not supportive?
Absolutely here, you know.
In the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, I think it's a different neighborhood than any other neighborhood in New York. You know, I think for me, this is the best neighborhood in New York City.
Me too.
We have everything here. Like, you cannot beat us in food and parties and dressing, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a dope neighborhood to be in.
I'm glad that you still think that. I know that's an old story. Not an old story. It's just everybody's story about how much the neighborhood's changed. It's so different. It's so different. It's crazy.
But I you know what? I love it, you know, because it's a blend of the old and the new. And, you know, I think there needs to be a balance where we make sure those people that like lived in the 80s and 90s in a crappy tenement apartment when we were like kicking roaches out of our fucking windows and rats, you know, that we have the right to keep stabilized rent, you know, and not get abused by landlords and landlords too. Like, they should be able to win too, in terms of it needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
You know, the landlords should be able to get their money and have a feasible tax bill at the end of the year and make some money off of with their property. But
yeah,
it's hard. You know, this is New York City.
As long as we can all do it. I mean, New York City's always changing, but this neighborhood, whew, I love it. I just had an idea for a side series, which would be you would be like, that place used to be this, and you could tell the whole history of everything.
I was actually walking down, picking up my daughter from school right now. Like, I was racing, and then I was walking with one of my boys that we grew up. You know, he grew up on Delancey. He still lives there. You know, rent control, and so we were walking, and he's like, the whole Essex crossing, it's like, wow. Like, he was like, my mom didn't want to even walk down this block because it was so sketchy, you know. Like, you know, you wanted to go down Grand Street or Delancey Street, not on Broome Street at night in the parking lots and fucking.
And that's all it was a parking lot.
And rats and, you know, I don't know what popping out.
Yeah. Do you still live in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
You are still living here.
Yep.
And felt that you knew you were coming back to start the business here. Did you always know that?
Well,
I mean, your plan was like, absolutely, this is where we're going to start.
Yeah, in the park, Forsyth Park, you know, because my mom still had an apartment. I had no other place to go except for her couch. Yeah. And so I was renting her couch for $250 a month and coming out of prison. What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. You know, I know how to work out. I know how to, you know, do stuff. So that's what I did.
I read that she was your client, your first client.
She was my first client.
That you went to the park and showed her.
Yeah, because she was going out with the Chinese old ladies doing Tai Chi and like kicking the empty gallon buckets, and I'm like, Mom, come on, let's go do push-ups, Mom. You know, like, that's not real working out. But I love the Tai Chi. I love, and that's something that, you know, there's still culture here. You know, there's still, you know, the Chinese culture is deep. You know?
Yeah, it's still got there is a lot of immigrant culture here still, always. And so, so then you started CONBODY, and it really took off. I mean, I know you hustled and pitched it and pitched it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pitching it. You know, I'm still like trying to grow and do more stuff and make things happen. You know,
But you did that specifically with the intention also to hire formerly incarcerated people to work for you.
Yeah.
And that's still what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not only hired them, but it sounds like it's created like a real support system.
Yeah, I mean, it's different because my retention rate on my employees, it's forever. You know, like they're there. You know, like our average employee stays with us for like 4 or 5 years. You know, there's people there for 8, 9 years now. Like, you know, people, when we hear, we know that we come from a similar struggle, and we need to have each other's back. And sometimes it's overwhelming when you come out of the system and you have $40 on a bus ticket and you're coming out of a shelter and you hear about us through whatever, and you knock on our door and you're like, oh, is there an opportunity here? Can I drop off my resume or whatever? Like it's a lot, you know. It's a whole different system. Like who drops off resumes like that anymore? Like everything is online, you know. So teaching that person how to transition to that pattern is a lot.
It's a really big endeavor, I think. And I think it's not a 9-to-5 job.
Oh no, I worked 7 days, you know. But I have a balance too, you know. I don't like kill myself because the number one thing I want to do is like be with my kids and my wife, and like that's like that I feel so fulfilled, you know, doing that.
So CONBODY found a home finally, it was moving around, and then it found a home on Orchard Street.
Yeah.
And then how did this start? This CONBUD? I mean, we knew it was coming. We knew that the state was going to legalize sale of marijuana, but only, I don't know, we heard it for a couple years. It's been how many years? It hasn't been that many years.
Yeah,
officially.
So I was talking on cannabis panels, and there was one guy, he was doing these groups called Canna Gather, and Josh Weinstein, and he was bringing a lot of people together. And so what he brought me to speak about was that one time I applied to work with my friend who received a license in like 2018. I had an old friend. I was living in Rhode Island. Long story short, I kept in touch with him for like so long. I know him since 2000, and so he got one of the first Massachusetts license in cannabis, and he's like, I don't really know how to run a business. You know, I would love to have you, and you know, I love the story. You got locked up for weed, but I used to buy weed off of you. Like, what do you want to be the CEO and like be the head and face of this brand? And when I went to like do it, he was like, nah, yo, they're not allowing people that would have records and all this stuff. And I was like, yo, this shit is backwards,
right?
You know. And so I remember going to like one of the Canna Gather group panel discussions that we were having, and I said how effed up this is, and then I was seeing like how it was legalizing, and I said I was sitting on his board, and long story short, the opportunity came in like 2021 when it actually legalized, that we were going to be the first ones to get into the market. And so all you needed was to show a net profitable business for at least 2 years, which is not very easy.
No.
And then also have the conviction for cannabis, you know. So it was 903 people applied.
Whoa. Yeah, it's a really small pool when you make it that strict. Right?
For 25 or 40, whatever, how many people in the state.
Yeah. And you got one of the first ones.
Yep. I'm licensed number 21.
And then from there, how long did that take to open up?
So a lot of people think that the whole state messed up and slow roll down, but this is like the narrative that the big pharmaceutical companies were pushing.
Oh.
So they were hiding behind different coalitions, putting in lawsuits, holding up the market so they could grab as much market share as possible. So they were the only ones that were being able to operate were medical ones. So how do you extend your lifeline for, you keep funneling lawsuits through other people and other coalitions. So that veterans lawsuit was funded by 4 medical companies that hired Joe Biden's lawyers to sue the state and hold up the market, saying that it was unconstitutional to allow people like myself to go first.
Really?
So I actually intervened in that case. I hired my own lawyer with a couple other guys, and we basically opened up and helped open up the market for people that have been impacted to go first. It's the first time it's ever happened in any state. And so now we have about 300 people that have been formerly incarcerated people to work in the market right now.
Wow. So you had to fight it though.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's still a fight,
Yeah.
because there's still this. We're just spreadsheets, where they have the market collapsing in like 18 months, because what they do is drive the prices all the way down. Like Kush Club next door, right here, they're accepting these pharmaceutical companies' products and they selling it at a very low rate, trying to race to the bottom, and then that's it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a deeper,
Yeah.
I could go on forever.
But the story isn't quite right, what people are saying.
Yeah, but we've been able to fight and win, and get through it, but it's not easy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess I would ask, people see the headlines and then there's a high profile storefront on the corner there.
Yeah.
And if they haven't come in, what do you want people in the neighborhood to know about what it is that you're trying to do?
I think, like you said it in the beginning, what I'm trying to do is destigmatize, de-judgmatize people, like we see people and we judge people by the book of its cover, what their background and what mistakes, we all have committed mistakes. We all have done crazy shit on our lives, whether you got caught or not, like when is enough? When do you stop paying? How do you move forward? How do you see somebody as equal? We have people that live in the projects that work out with somebody that lives in the Essex Street crossing buildings, working out in the same room, but have no idea the net worth of each other's self, and so like bringing two different communities together and really destigmatizing, it's like what I really want to achieve, like how do we change that? How do we change perceptions? Because perception is reality, So.
And have you found that to be hard?
Yeah, I mean, but it's working. I see people that I stop every single day that I'm on Orchard Street. I'm opening up my gates at 8:30 in the morning. Like I'm stopping people and talking to random tourist people and letting them know, and they're like, "Oh my God, I did not know." And so it's person at a time, one picture at a time. It's really hitting the ground. Really grassroots. Today I walked, probably 5 miles around the whole LES, just stickering and, doing stupid shit. But I communicated with about 100 people, and they stopped and talked to me, and there are potential people that are going to come in and really see what we're doing,
And when people come in, what's the response been like?
They don't believe it, in the beginning, it's like, and then, people come in and it's like, all right, there's my spot. Like, I'm just going to go and get my stuff, or I'm going to work out and do my stuff and get out, and it becomes like more of a repetitive stuff. But in that first beginning, it's like, damn, this for me, it doesn't feel real sometimes, like walking up Delancey Street and like seeing a big ass store on the corner, a big ass gym on the corner, and then like seeing that and knowing that I got arrested 3 blocks away for doing this,
Yeah.
But it I obviously I'm a realist, and but it gives me goosebumps sometimes, and it's like those moments are like, damn, I need to keep pushing, because this is just the beginning,
And it's happening. And talk about change. I mean, I think you've been part of it, really, like it's making a huge impact right here. And then, you don't know how it ripples out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've been everywhere around the world. Like I just got back from the United Nations, talking to the highest of the high, they're talking about they want to report to decriminalize drugs by 2030 across the whole world. It's the first time they arrested an ex-president for killing people, for having drugs, like the ex-Philippine president for killing 6,500 people, but it's been tens of thousands of people, and so it's an act of human rights. The UN has to get involved. The high courts have to get involved. Like, they need to find and hear solutions. Like, they're even talking to people that have contacts with the cartels. Cartels are willing to pay taxes. So, like, when I heard that, I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is, we're living in a different new structure of this world that's moving so fast, especially with the craziness that we have to deal with every day on CNN,
Yeah. I know. Things are going so fast. I mean, but even here, I mean, I do know that it's still, because it's just state by state, that makes it so challenging when it comes to like federal, and then this other states, they are arresting people for selling marijuana still, like, and putting them in jail. So it doesn't make any sense at the moment, right? It's so like all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, there's still people that are sitting in jail across our federal penal system and different state potential systems, like penal systems in Louisiana and different southern states, Texas, like, it's wild, and then I could do this legally, but then not really, because then I get hit with a crazy amount of taxes.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like, I have a potential $700,000 tax bill with the feds, so because I cannot tax deduct none of my employees, I can't tax deduct my rent, this.
Right. Because they can't figure that stuff out yet.
I see a lot of cash going in and out, but can I touch it? Not really, little, so, but yeah, no, it takes, and people don't know about the loans the hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans that I had to use to pay back I'm paying $47,600 every month. $47,600 I have to pay to the landlord for those 2 floors.
On the corner of Orchard and
Delancey.
Did you ever think you would say something like that?
I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, but
10 years ago, is that what you thought would happen?
No, never. I can't believe I signed a 10-year lease and with a 10-year option. Like, I don't know, what's gonna happen. But I know I'm there. This is, Baruch Singer, Hasidic Jew. He's not a bad guy. He gave me a chance, but it's a crazy big chance.
Yeah.
And I got every first of the month, I get a call, on the first, here you go.
Yeah.
So I got to make it, and so that's why I have to be in the streets. I have to be screaming. I have to let people know, because how am I going to get there? I have, across right now 4 businesses, I have 72 employees.
And you just opened up in the Bronx?
Right in front of Yankee Stadium, yeah.
Yeah.
About 500 feet, yeah.
Nice.
So it's crazy.
It's big.
Yes, I'm trying.
Yeah. And how do you keep your feet on the ground?
I think keeping a schedule and not and understanding that, like, I can't do everything, and like serenity prayer is like what I keep in the back of my head,
What would be your takeaway, like a takeaway from this? Has been an insane journey in an amazing way that's still going, and I think to get something like that done, and something that I think about New Yorkers, is that you just have to know and understand people, first of all, so well. Like, I think New Yorkers in general are so savvy about people, but it's really about people. Like, it's like you're just with people, you're just talking to people.
I think it's more like the way we grew up, and it may look like, hey, I'm a chameleon and trying to adapt, but maybe it's the fact that I grew up a block away from, like, the Italian mafia and Chinese and the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans and, the black and the projects and all the stuff, to get a blend, and then, go through different education system down here. Like, I went to PS20, but I also went to the Jesuit school Nativity on Forsyth Street that was ran by scholars, that most of the people that graduated there like went to like crazy schools, you know. And so a lot of the education that I was learning in junior high already, that when I went to 5 different high schools because I got in trouble so much. But I graduated from Seward Park on time, you know, and I did it, you know, like
because you got it. You already had that education. You had good education.
Yeah, it was like real like life education. You know, it was not like, hey, yes, we learned the books, we learned Latin, we learned all this stuff, but like the real education, they used to take us out of this neighborhood and bring us to Camp Montserrat in Lake Placid for 7 weeks. And it was called leadership training camp.
In the summers?
In the summers. You know, that was real structure of like, hey, you got to get up. You got to do your own laundry. You iron your own clothes. We used to clean our cabins with our hands. There was we didn't have no broom. It was a dustpan in your hand. And when they would go in there for inspection and find a little dust, like, yo, y'all lost, you know? And so, yeah, it was real stuff. You know?
Yeah. I think this, from what I can see, is like you're exposed to so many different cultures and different people, and everybody's elbow to elbow here. And so there's all different backgrounds, but it really is that diversity that like makes people so, I think, savvy and interesting and capable. And like you can tackle most things because you have already met people. You have all those perspectives.
And you don't, and once you so blended in, you don't feel, the judgment word on other people, for me, it's like, yes, I will judge somebody that's smoking cake too on the floor. And I'm like, yo, this person needs help or something, you know? But the fact that we're hanging out, like that we're two different worlds that are blending together, it's what I strive to do with everything. You know?
I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming by. It was really great.
Yeah, thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Yeah, and I'll see you in class.
You see? Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.